One of the worst things that you could tell an actor right before they walk on stage for the final show is to have fun. And one of the best things you can tell an actor right before they walk on stage for the final show is to have fun. So we're back at the color of green. We deal with very heavy topics that a lot of times, if I'm not very careful as a writer and as a director, the subject matter can kind of weigh heavily on your audience. And so, in writing this show, one of the things I recognized that I needed to do was to kind of give the audience a breathing moment. Bumper to Bumper is a scene that I wrote about this news producer that is dealing with two very unique reporters who she wants them to record a commercial for the news, to kind of play in between some of the daily things that happen on the station where they are. And she is trying to get them to be very sensitive to the new vocabulary to use when it comes to mental health. And it doesn't go very well. The actors that I cast for this were Vanique Richardson as the producer, Nicole McClintock and Todd Baker, who are the reporters, and Bakari Prigg, who was cast as the weatherman. When I first met Bakari, when he came to the audition, I remember thinking in my head, this is a very serious actor. He has the ability to be very dramatic, which is absolutely true. But I remember thinking in one of the rehearsals that we were in, this guy has the potential to be hilarious, and not realizing that that is actually one of the things that he's very good at is musical and comedic acting, very physical in his acting. And so one of the things I did when I was watching him in rehearsal, I was just like, you know what, I have this part for you that I think will be really perfect. And of course it's Kevin the weatherman. Kevin the weatherman's purpose in the whole scene is not to pay attention to what's going on. That's the only way the punchline is going to work. And dealing in comedy, a lot of times people think that comedy is a very easy thing to do. It's actually very difficult, because what happens is that you can't play up to the joke. You have to play it so serious that the people that are actually in the scene, the characters in the scene, feel like they're actually going through this thing in a very serious form. Whereas the audience may be cracking up laughing. It's not as funny to the characters in the scene. And that's exactly what these amazing actors did. Kevin, however, is kind of like, I don't know if I didn't write him particularly dense, but I did write him very purposely obtuse and kind of not paying attention. And that is what Bakari nailed. One of the things that I do with my shows, if I'm going to have a really big show, I like to debut it to a smaller audience first to kind of see how it's going to land. So we took the color of green to one of the local spaces here in Huntsville called The Spot. It's run by Fred Whitlow. And we debuted it for about maybe 100 people. In the middle of Bumper to Bumper, one of the things that Bakari did for this audience is that he went into the audience on the front row, because of course they were like maybe 5 or 6 feet from the stage where we were performing. And he had a little fun with the audience while the scene is going on. It lands great. It was perfect. It kind of did exactly what we needed it to do in the room, which was to kind of let everyone breathe and laugh before we, ended the show in a positive manner, and then had a great talk back with the audience. But of course, in my head as a director, I'm just like, that works in here, but when we move to a larger theater, we're going to have to 86 that whole going into the audience thing. And that's exactly what I told Bakari. We go into a larger theater at the New Room here in Huntsville, and we did a rehearsal in there, and the stage itself has got to be like a good, 30 feet from the audience, and you have to go down a set of stairs. And I was looking at it and saying, you know what, this isn't a good idea. It's going to take too much away. It's going to get him so out of pocket that it's going to be difficult for him to really land the punchline and the joke to get back on the stage. So I looked at Bakari in one of the rehearsals and I said, look, it landed great at the soft debut. It's not going to land great here. Don't leave the stage. In rehearsal, Bakari stays on the stage, and it works. But even sitting in the audience, I realized that there was a bit of a piece missing, but I kind of kept that to myself. We get to the night of the performance. The whole show is going amazingly. We're coming actually under time, which is really great for a theater show. And we are backstage. Bakari is standing right next to me. And I happen to look over to him, and he's just kind of like gearing up for the scene. And we kind of make eye contact. And I look at him and I say, you know what, Bakari, go have fun. And that was probably the best few words that I could say to him. In the backstage area at the new room as a director, I was sitting in a high chair and I had three screens in front of me and I was able to see, depending on where, every camera that had their angle on the stage. So in the middle of the performance, while I'm looking at cameras and I'm calling out cues to the tech people and the sound people and of course to the camera people, I happen to glance at all of the screens and realize I can't see Bakari anymore. And at that moment, I was just like, he left the stage. So I say to the camera guy, I need you to find the actor that just left the stage. They're just like, what are you talking about? He was he supposed to leave? I said, I don't know where he went, but he's in the audience somewhere. Find him. And of course, they're like, Danita, it's too dark. We can't see where he is. I was like, look, I don't care where he is. I know he's there. If you don't find him, the joke won't land. So of course, I have one screen that's on the stage. I have another screen that's on, that's angled in a way so it's on another part of the stage. And then I have the last screen that is literally like combing over the audience, frantically looking for Bakari. And right before the joke needs to land, we see the cameraman settle. They found him. I'm not even sure to this day, and I've always been meaning to ask him how he got so far in and up into the audience. It was one of the most remarkable things I think I'd ever seen. And I think even the audience that was around him was surprised he was there. And of course, he comes climbing out as his name is being called, as his character name is being called, and he starts running up the aisle. And of course, the audience loses it. And then he gets on stage. Joke lands like any writer would need it for it to land, and then we were able to end the show on a very positive note. Writing to make the audience feel better and still want to go and change the world is a big deal to me. It's something that I strive to do. But you can never do that as a director if you don't have some amazing actors that can pull it off. Here is Bumper to Bumper. I hope you enjoy it.
Putting any more makeup on your face, I'll be able to carve my initials in the side of it.
Joseph, you might want to ask Janice to turn down the lights so that all that plastic surgery doesn't melt underneath the heat.
No wonder you can't find a husband.
All right, at ease, you two. Now, we are just going to record the bumpers for tonight's show. I only need 3, one of which will include the weather. Kevin. All right, are you ready? Okay. All right, let's do this.
I'm Joseph Hemodopoulos.
And I am Lisa Lugerio. Tonight we'll talk about a mentally ill man who is selling Girl Scout cookies.
And we take a look at how the city is trying to expand Highway 44. Are they crazy?
Cut. All right, guys, listen. Now, the station has been on me because this team is terrible about meeting our bumper quota. Let's see. And, well, I guess first, thank you for producing your own bumper scripts. That really does save us a lot of time.
We are professionals.
You are getting there, yes. Here's the thing. I'm not sure if the language that you're using is appropriate for the stories we're previewing.
Not sure I follow.
Okay, sure. So, first of all, you call the men mentally ill. I'm not sure that's accurate or applicable.
Well, if you're stealing and selling Girl Scout cookies, then you got to be some type of mental ill.
That's
Or maybe it's just a really, really mean person. And let's say mental disorder.
I see where you're going.
You know, I am not completely sure that you do. Joseph.
Right here.
You call the city crazy. That's just not a good word to use.
So, use a substitute. Got it.
No, how about you run that by me real quick?
All right. Mental.
No.
Batty.
Nope.
Bonkers. Craze.
Derivative of the first one.
How about cuckoo and the Cocoa Puff? Yes.
No, that's wrong, and I'm pretty sure it's slightly racist. Listen, guys, you can't just assume or assert that someone is suffering from mental disorder simply because they do something outside of what is perceived as ordinary. That diminishes the real problem we have in this country.
You know what, Lisa? You are so right, Janice. And as solid journalists, we got to be sensitive to those things.
Absolutely.
Solid is a really strong word, Lisa. Okay, look, let's do this. We'll move on to the next bumper, come back to this one, okay? All right, Kevin. Kevin. Are you good, buddy? All right, be ready. This is it. All right, cue music in 3, 2.
I'm Joseph Hemodopoulos.
And I'm Lisa Lou. Tonight we'll talk about a mentally ill man who is spraying racial epithets on the sides of buildings.
Also, we take a look at the mental instability of the Ku Klux Klan.
Cut!
What's wrong with that one? We did exactly as you wanted.
I thought we did an amazing job, Janice.
Okay, so first of all, racism is not a mental disorder.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I'm sure that millions of psychiatrists would disagree with you. Thousands even.
What, do you listen? Okay, listen. I'm not saying that some people who are racist don't suffer from a mental disorder. I mean, because statistically, with that many people together, there's bound to be one. What I'm saying is racism itself is not a mental disorder.
But clearly, you are racist, honey, if you just continue.
Okay, racism is a choice. Can we not blanket bad behavior with mental disorders? That's just not okay. I mean, as crazy as it may seem, there's some people in this world who just choose to do bad things. They choose to be bad people.
Gotcha, boss lady. Gotcha.
Right.
Guys, I just feel like you need to read the next bumper to me.
Don't worry, we couldn't possibly mention a mine or mess it up.
I would like to think so, Joseph. All right, Kevin! This guy. Really? Kevin, be ready. This is really it, all right? Cue music in 3, 2, 1.
I'm Lisa Lou.
And I'm Joseph Hemodopoulos. Tonight we take a look at an area woman who's being charged for murdering her newborn child.
And hear how capital murder charges are appropriate for this clear-thinking, sane mom.
Are you even serious right now?
You know, I'm starting to not like your tone. That was what you wanted, right?
Yeah, Janice, now we can't keep adjusting, honey, if you're just going to keep changing those rules.
That's
The
right.
rules? There are no rules.
But you said we couldn't put everything under some type of blanket called mental illness.
Disorder, and you can't. But this is an actual mental disorder. And you have on enough makeup. What? Okay, listen. Guys, postpartum psychosis is an actual mental disorder. It requires treatment.
Oh. Janice, you know what else probably is. Honey, hangry.
Lisa.
Absolutely.
Lisa,
Hangry is definitely a mental disorder.
Hangry is not a mental disorder.
Honey, are you sure? Because, honey, if I go in that break room and those powdered donuts are gone, honey, I get downright depressed.
For me, it's the bear claws.
Oh, I love the claws.
Listen to me, you hack journalists. Mental disorders are a real thing that affect real people. It's not something you could just ignore, and it isn't something you just diagnose all willy-nilly at your own discretion. It requires medical intervention, treatment, and sometimes medication. But people don't get the help they need because of people like you two yahoos who go around dismissing the actual problem by not even taking it seriously. Ooh.
This is personal to you, isn't it?
You two. You know what? Just do a general bumper. Do the general bumper and throw to Kevin. Kevin! What? Where is this? Kevin! Really? Really? Are you ready, Kevin? This is really it. All right.
Aye, Captain.
Cue music in 3,
I'm gonna have to get some of those powdered ones.
Ooh, they're so delicious.
I'm Joseph Hematopoulos.
And I'm Lisa. Some amazing things are happening in our city.
Take a look tonight with us at the city sights and sounds and tonight's weather with Kevin. Kevin!
Thanks, guys. The weather outside is downright schizophrenic out there. I mean, temps are going all over the place. More on that tonight.
Your local news and bipolar weather tonight on News Channel 8.
Nailed it! Yeah!
And that is Gather for Notes. See you next time.